Good morning, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the Bill Press Show this Monday morning. Can you believe it? Here we go. Hope you had a great weekend, had a chance to recharge your batteries, watched a lot of good football, and are ready to tackle the big news stories of the week starting today here as we come to you live from our nation's capital. Yeah, lots of good football this weekend, and we wind up looking forward to two really great games next weekend. The 49ers versus Seattle and the Broncos versus the Patriots, lining up Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, which should be a real thriller indeed. Something to look forward to. Meanwhile, big news here on the home front. The White House announcing over the weekend that negotiators in Geneva have finalized the deal with Iran, whereby Iran will start scaling back its nuclear production and heading toward a nuclear weapon, God forbid. And in return, the United States will start lifting the sanctions against Iran. Meanwhile, up in New Jersey, the latest documents over the lane closures so that show that more and more people close to Chris Christie were aware of the lane closures. They knew it was a problem. They were fighting hard to keep it out of the media and out of any public discourse. So far, there is still no evidence linking Chris Christie himself to knowledge of the lane closures. If that comes forward, he is politically toast. Also in Virginia, Terry McAuliffe sworn in Saturday as the new governor of Virginia. Former President Bill Clinton and former First Lady Hillary Clinton were there for the ceremonies for that good friend of theirs and of mine. All of that coming up. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and stay with us on this Monday edition of The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Online, this is The Bill Press Show.
It looks like we have a deal with Iran. Aren't you glad we didn't do what Dick Cheney wanted to do, or John McCain, or Benjamin Netanyahu, and go to war against Iran? Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, and welcome to the whole new work week here on this Monday, January 13. Is it still Blue Monday? I don't know. Is this another?
It's like Blue January, man.
Yeah, every Monday's a Blue Monday. At any rate, good to see you. Hope you enjoyed the weekend. Gotten a lot of good football, maybe a lot of relaxation, a little shopping, whatever. Just kick back and are ready to go. We've got a lot to talk about today here on the Bill Press Show. Great to see you today. Thank you for joining us wherever you happen to be in this wonderful land of ours, north, south, east, west, coast to coast. We're there. There on your local progressive talk radio station, there on Free Speech TV with you, and there with you on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Very early in the morning here on the East Coast, but that doesn't stop the team from assembling. Let's call the roll. Peter Ogburn.
Present and accounted for.
All right. Elisa Murphy.
Here.
Alicia Cruz. Yes, she gets the wave, and here's the big test. Cyprian Bolding, did he make it in this movie?
He's here.
No.
He's here.
All right.
He's here.
You just heard him from the video booth here, indeed. I'll tell you. I want you to know it was a big weekend for the press family.
Yeah?
Major news in the press family. We had solar panels installed on our roof.
Look at you.
Ooh.
On Saturday. Yes. Big, huge crane came in front of the house and clear all the cars out.
Really?
Yep. And lifted up the solar panels and put them on the roof. And let me tell you,
fancy, huh?
I have pictures of it in my iPhone. Actually, I should have tweeted some out.
Sure, yeah. That's kind of cool.
No, I'll do that. And at the break. I'll do that at the break.
Sure.
And, by the way, they did this. I thought it was very amusing. They put on the solar panels in the driving rain.
Oh, whoa.
So there you go.
Not a good start for the solar panels when there was no sun out, I guess.
We didn't get a lot of juice from the solar panels on Saturday.
I can't imagine.
Actually, they put them on the roof Saturday. They come back and hook them up today.
Okay.
Actually.
Today's supposed to be sunny, so that'll be a good start.
But let me tell you, what we discovered is Washington, D.C. is the best place in the country in terms of the tax credits you get and the money you can make and save with solar panels. The best place in the country for putting solar on the roof.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Look at you.
The city gives...
That's exciting.
I
like that.
So anyhow, I'm very excited about that. Doing our job, doing our little bit to save the planet. We put our money where our mouth is here. Right. And by the way, so if you weren't putting solar panels on, you're probably watching football this weekend. There's a lot of good football this weekend.
There was a lot of football.
Did you watch every one of the games?
I watched a little bit of every one of the games. I didn't sit and watch every game, but I watched a little bit of it.
Best game was?
I would say the best game was probably the Saints and the Seahawks, where the Seahawks just looked like they were going to away with it, and then the Saints kind of had a chance there at the end. It got very exciting. But then they didn't win.
And the weather was abysmal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was terrible. A lot of rain.
Yeah, right.
Seahawks are a fun team to watch.
Well, the Seahawks now are up against the 49ers next weekend, right?
It's going to be a wild game.
Yesterday, the 49ers pulled it out over the Panthers right toward the end with an interception.
23-10 San Francisco with 4:35 to go. Newton takes the snap, throws a seam route, intercepted! Dante Whitner running near side. He's to the 15. He is to the 20. He tight ropes up the sideline and goes out of bounds. Just shy of a 30, and the 49ers survive a horrendous officiating call. And Dante Whitner saves the day with an interception.
Oh, Nancy Pelosi's happy. I'm sure she's a big 49ers fan. So it's the 49ers versus the Seahawks at Seattle next Sunday.
Yeah.
And then the big game, the Broncos versus the Patriots, that's got to be
in Denver.
That's a classic, right?
Going to be huge.
I mean, it's two guaranteed Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Right, yeah.
With Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. It's going to be amazing.
So that's that's in Denver?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Look, Peyton Manning has a lot to prove this season. He was Sports Illustrated's Sportsman of the Year. There were a lot of concerns about him and his playoff pass. He's lost more opening round playoff games than like any other quarterback. He won yesterday big time, so he's got another big test next weekend. It's going to be a good game.
All right, that's got it. Let's get into it now. We will be joined by reporters from the Hotline, from The Hill, from U.S. News and World Report and Huffington Post. And we'll even check in with a good friend up at the New Jersey Star-Ledger, who have been taking the lead and reporting on the big Chris Christie Bridgegate scandal. And we'll tell you the latest about all of that. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. A convicted pimp in Oregon is suing Nike for $100 million because he says the company should include a warning label on his Air Jordans saying that they could be used as a deadly weapon. The pimp was
what?
The Air Jordans, the shoes.
Yeah.
The pimp was convicted of repeatedly stomping a man's face after he didn't pay one of his prostitutes in 2012. He is serving a 100-year sentence for second-degree assault, among other crimes. So his shoes that he were wearing could be used as a deadly weapon.
Is they going to ban them now?
That's
right.
That's what he would like.
He's requesting they put labels on the shoes saying these could potentially harm you.
Yeah. If you didn't know that,
these could be hazardous to your health, like cigarette packs.
Could be hazardous to your health. Yeah, exactly. California chefs are not very excited about a new law just signed into effect. It's a ban on bare-handed contact with foods. Chefs are now going to be required to wear plastic latex gloves while preparing food. It's going to go into effect over the next 6 months.
Where is this?
In California. Chefs are not happy about it. Number one, they say that it is not very environmentally friendly because you have to constantly change these latex gloves, and they point to several studies that say that it's actually less sanitary to wear these latex gloves because when you're not wearing gloves, you can feel that you have something on your hands, and so you wash them. And if you're wearing gloves, you can't feel that, so you may be tempted to just reuse those latex.
That's a whole that's a whole big discussion, and I really don't know anything about it, right? Which has never stopped me from having an opinion about anything. But I must admit, when I'm in a deli or something, and I order a sandwich, and I see them making the sandwich with latex gloves on, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Now, maybe I should, but I just if they're there, I trust that they've washed their hands and they're making the sandwich. And
chefs really, really do not like it. And this has cropped up in a couple of other states and a couple of other instances. And they usually sort of rally and just say, this is not going to make anything better. It's not going to keep anybody.
I wonder if there are any evidence of people not wearing latex gloves who have made people sick by stuff from their hands getting on the food. I don't know. Well, anyhow, I'd be for no gloves.
I'm for no gloves. If the chefs don't want to wear gloves, I'm fine with them not wearing gloves. And in Arkansas over the
weekend... Condoms, yes. Gloves, no.
That's true. Yeah, latex isn't always bad. And in Arkansas over the weekend, a tradition unlike any other, it was the 71st annual Coon Supper. It is where politicians from both sides of the aisle sit down and eat a plate of raccoon.
Now, where is this?
In Arkansas.
Of course.
Yeah, Only in Arkansas.
Yeah, way to perpetuate...
not Alabama, not Mississippi?
Hey, no, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Although, it was in Alabama that I had my first raccoon. Raccoon's not a horrible meat, I'll be honest.
I'll take your word for it. And
come on, you've had muskrat.
I've had muskrat. I love muskrat.
If you like muskrat, you'd like raccoon.
No, I wouldn't. I would eat muskrat any day, but I would never eat raccoon.
You draw the line at
draw the line at muskrat.
Okay. All right. It's like a dark meat chicken type thing.
Yeah, it tastes like chicken.
Like a lighter pot roast kind of.
Yeah, you come to Washington and we'll make you a little muskrat fricassee. Yeah, right? Yeah, I'm telling you, it ain't over yet for Chris Christie. I hate to say it, but it ain't over till the fat lady sings. That's what they say up in New Jersey. Well, the governor of New Jersey, I'm not going to say anything about his weight. He can't relax yet, for sure. We've been following this thing and taking your calls about it. And the question this morning is, do you think Christie has put this scandal behind him? 866-55-PRESS. I think if Chris Christie thinks that, he is just kidding himself. First of all, Yeah, and I admit this. He did a bravura job last week at that news conference where he accepted responsibility, fessed up to the fact that his office is the one that started this whole lane closure on the George Washington Bridge last September. But insisting he knew nothing about it, and fired one of his top aides and cut his ties to another political consultant over it. So he did a really good job at that news conference, but here's why I say it's not over yet. One, there are two investigations, not one, two investigations already underway, one in the state legislature, the other with the Port Authority itself, which could drag on for weeks and months. Just reported this morning that subpoenas are expected to be issued this morning to members of the governor's office and his staff and Port Authority members that he appointed to come and testify in front of those two investigations, which again could drag on and on and on. Thirdly, the U.S. Attorney is talking about perhaps opening up a criminal investigation because, and that's what maybe we forget about with this scandal, unlike the Monica Lewinsky scandal, Monica Gate, right? There was a crime committed here. To close a public roadway or any public institution like that for pure political purposes is a crime. So the U.S. Attorney may open a criminal investigation, and that could drag on and on. And then we have Bridget Ann Kelly, who hasn't been heard from since last Thursday when the governor fired her. She's going to come forward and she's going to testify. She is his deputy chief of staff. She's the one who sent that email to the Bridge Authority, the guy from New Jersey on the Bridge Authority, and Mr. Wildstein, and said it's time to it's time for some traffic problems,
in
right?
Fort Lee.
In Fort Lee. Now, the governor insists that she never asked him about it. She never asked his permission. They never talked about it. He still admits, as he said last week, that he was totally unaware of what had gone on. Will she confirm that? Will she fall on her sword for Chris Christie, or will she pick up her sword and stab him in the back with it, or stab him in the chest with it? We don't know. So for now, all we've got going is what Chris Christie told us last week at the news conference. First of all, he came out, remember, started the news conference by apologizing. If we have that sound, please.
I come out here to this office where I've been many times before, and I come out here today to apologize to the people of New Jersey. I apologize to the people of Fort Lee, and I apologize to the members of the state legislature.
And then again, throughout, he told all the actions he took, but throughout, Governor Christie insisted he knew nothing.
I had no knowledge or involvement in this issue, in its planning or its execution, and I am stunned.
Now, yes, stunned.
Stunned.
There are lots of adjectives he used to describe himself then. Blindsided, stunned, saddened, contrite, on and on and on. So we got the investigations, 2 on, maybe 1 more. We got Bridget Ann Kelly, still that other shoe's got to drop. And then, thirdly, we've had 1,000 pages of documents released by the Port Authority, related documents released by the Port Authority on Friday. Our friend Igor Volsky from Think Progress went through them all and has a good article on Think Progress. We should link that today, Peter, on our website.
Yep.
About what the most damning revelations are in those documents. And the documents do show that more people knew about the lanes closings. More people close to Chris Christie knew about the lane closings than we had been told before. They also knew it was a serious problem that might bite them in the ass, and they were doing everything they could to keep it out of the media and out of any public discussion. And they continued to insist that this was a legitimate traffic study even though there was no traffic study needed or, in fact, taking place. And finally, the documents show that it was the guy that Andrew Cuomo appointed executive director of the Port Authority who finally, after 4 days, said, enough is enough is enough. I'm not going to put up with this any longer. I don't care who gave the orders. I am opening up the bridge. He comes out as the one white hat in all of this mess. So, Chris Christie, has he put it behind him? And does he have any political future? I think that's a big question mark still today. What do you say? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it. Monday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, 26 minutes after the hour now here. Monday morning, January 13. Talking about the big scandal up in New Jersey. Chris Christie kind of threw water on the flames last Thursday, but that little fire is still smoldering up there, and I think it will continue for a while. Can't wait to hear what the woman that Chris Christie fired, Bridget Ann Kelly, said. Man, she could personally, she alone could sink him, depending on what she says. Peter, quick comments before we go to the phone?
Just a really quick comment, because we're on Twitter, @BP Show, @BP Show. John Soltis just asks, is it wrong that I can't stop smiling?
A lot of people are, I'm afraid. By the way, on Twitter, also, during the break, as promised, I tweeted out 3 photos of the big solar installation here on the press household over the weekend, so check them out at BP Show. Joey's out in Chicago. Hey, Joey, what's going on? Good morning.
This has his stink all over it. This is how the Republican Party operates and Chris Christie operates. He wants us to believe he's Tony Soprano one day, and then he's Mr. Magoo the next day and gets everything pulled over his eyes. If anybody believes this, I got a bridge to sell him, the George Washington Bridge.
Yeah, well, they'll open the lanes before you sell it. Yeah, indeed. Right. I'm not a bully, he says. Right. I think anytime you have to say, I am not a bully, you are a bully. Yeah. All right, Joey, thanks for starting us off this morning out in Chicago while we're there on WCPT. Bruce, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, my friend?
Good. Go. What do you think?
Well, I was just wondering, do they apply the standard of known or should have known to Christie in this matter?
Well, I think they're going to have to, because I think you're right, Bruce, what you're getting at. If he knew, of course, then that's really, really bad. But if he didn't know, why the hell didn't he know? I mean, this is a closure of the most important bridge, the busiest bridge in the world, going from New Jersey into New York. And he knew about it, he says. Everybody knew about it. But then he didn't do anything about it? Yeah, he should have known. He should have acted.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig. All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, we got it 33 minutes after the hour here on a Monday morning. Coming to you live from our nation's capital and brought to you this morning by the good men and women of the American Federation of Teachers in our classrooms across America, making a difference every day, you bet. Under President Randy Weingarten, you can find out more about their good work. And we salute our teachers, thank them for their support at aft.org. By the way, before we move on, one more, just kind of final look at this Chris Christie scandal. What I find almost, actually laugh out loud funny, is the way Republicans are trying to twist this in a way they sort of can defend Christie without really defending Christie. By the way, I must say, I have not met one person yet who believes that Chris Christie.
I haven't.
I even had a meeting Friday with a business meeting with a couple of Republican friends, right, who are dyed-in-the-wool Republicans. We still managed to do business together and are good friends. And I expected them to be right there saying, of course Chris Christie didn't have anything to do with this, right? They didn't believe him. They said they flat out did not believe him. They weren't willing to give him as much credit as I did. At a dinner party Saturday night around the room, nobody believed Chris Christie. So I think he really does have a credibility problem. But some Republicans are again trying to twisting themselves inside out to find a way to defend him. Okay, Rudy Giuliani, right, who has less credibility, I think, than Chris Christie these days. Well, he says, and I've heard other people use this too, well, it's a big difference from Chris Christie and Bridgegate and President Obama and the IRS scandal.
People in the IRS thought President Obama wanted him to do this. President Obama didn't want him to do this. But they got the sense, because of that culture, that they were supposed to target right-wing groups.
Yeah, so that is so, it's so far from reality, you know. I mean, we know all the information, that's what people charged in the beginning. But we now know, as a result of congressional investigations, that the IRS was not targeting right-wing groups alone. They were targeting political groups to make sure that they were legitimate political groups on the left and on the right before they gave them a tax break, and that the White House had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all to do with it.
So crazy.
That it really, in fact, was started by the people who are responsible for this out in, where was it, Cleveland or Cincinnati?
Yeah.
I forget where it was, out in the Midwest somewhere, at any rate. So that was Rudy Giuliani's lame attempt. And by the way, that's one of the problems Christie has, is that he, in fact, did create an environment in the governor's office in New Jersey, and there's lots of evidence of that, where political payback was expected. It was more than tolerated. It was expected. It was encouraged. There are all kinds of people who said that they were not invited to meetings with the governor after they said one critical thing about him, or money was cut off for a particular project because they said something critical to the governor. So this was sort of the MO of the governor's office. And the mayor of Fort Lee, New Jersey, Mark Sokolich, might have been just the latest victim. The other thing is now, but Chris Christie's a bully, so you expect him to do this stuff. Britt Hume on Fox News says, it's not that Chris Christie is such a bully. It's because we have become so feminized.
Well, I would have to say that in this sort of feminized atmosphere in which we exist today, guys who were masculine and muscular like that in their private conduct and kind of old-fashioned tough guys run some risks.
Feminized?
Feminized atmosphere.
By which you mean?
By which I mean that men today have learned the lesson the hard way, that if you act like a kind of an old-fashioned guy's guy, you're in constant danger of slipping out and saying something that's going to get you in trouble and make you look like a sexist or make you look like you seem thuggish or whatever. That's the atmosphere in which he operated. This guy is very much an old-fashioned, masculine, muscular guy, and there are political risks associated with that.
Old-fashioned, muscular, masculine guy. Yeah, right. No, God, I wouldn't exactly.
I'm a man.
I'm a bully. I'm a man, and the only kind of good man is a bully.
I drink
That's
scotch.
What he's saying. Yeah,
I make my own beef jerky.
If I were thinking of an adjective to describe Chris Christie, it would not be muscular.
No, not at all.
No,
not at all.
I go to the gym every day. I see a lot of muscular men. Right?
Yeah.
I would not put Chris Christie in that category.
If eating a lot of steak means muscular, you're eating a lot of muscles, then maybe he could say he's muscular. But no, he's not a muscular.
The only thing you could say, final word on the Chris Christie thing, is that at least his scandal is not as big as the scandal affecting the new mayor of New York.
Oh my
God, Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio, who is in serious trouble. The first big scandal. He may not last a month.
New York media went nuts with this.
New York media went nuts because it was learned over the weekend that Bill de Blasio eats pizza with a knife and fork.
No! In my ancestral homeland, it is more typical to eat with a fork and knife. And so I've been in Italy a lot, and I picked up the habit for certain types of pizzas.
Certain types of pizza eats with a fork and knife. No, this is it. I mean, and he's supposed to be, he's the guy that the New Yorkers want.
Right.
A man of the people eats pizza with a fork and knife.
You're going to be careful how you say fork and knife in that New York accent, by the way.
With a fork and knife.
To his credit, I mean, he's right. I've never been to Italy, but I understand that in Italy they eat pizza with a knife and fork.
Not necessarily.
That's what I've heard. But okay, this is not Italy.
All right.
You're in New York. You get a piece of New York pizza. It's a giant slice that you have to fold. I mean, in Italy they serve these delicate little pies that you can eat with a knife and fork. You eat giant slices of
All right, full disclosure. Do you eat pizza with a fork and knife?
No, I don't.
I do sometimes.
Get the hell out. Are you kidding?
No,
what are you doing?
I do sometimes.
What is wrong with you?
Sometimes I don't mind picking it up. I'll pick it up and eat it that way. But I also sometimes will eat it with a fork and knife. It depends on the pizza. I'm a Bill de Blasio kind of pizza eater. Yeah.
In other words, you're a communist.
In other words, I'm a communist. But the difference is I'm not the mayor of New York. I can eat pizza any way I want.
Chicago deep dish pizza, you have to eat with a knife and fork. But that, some would argue, is not actually pizza. Like New York pizza, a big slice that you have to kind of fold so that it doesn't get some sort of, that you don't make a giant mess, you have to eat with your hand.
All right. We'll take your comments about pizza a little bit later. But there's something else I got to talk about, which just drives me crazy. And maybe you heard about this, but out in Dallas, okay, again, over the weekend, the Dallas Safari Club. This is sick. They held an auction, and they auctioned off a hunting permit to go to Namibia and shoot and kill, obviously, a black rhino. Now, the black rhino is on the endangered species list. There are 5,000 of them left in the whole world, 1,700 of which are in Namibia. And the government of Namibia grants 3 hunting permits a year. The problem is the poaching of these animals is the real problem, and the herd is being decimated. I mean, they're I don't know, hundreds of them killed every year, but because people relish these horns, the horns of the black rhino, for daggers, for ornaments, and in Asia they use them for traditional medicine and supposedly, to help male fertility, right? Swallowing these pills. They saw somewhere, horns can fetch up to, get this, $60,000 per kilo, putting its value somewhere between gold and pure cocaine. So that's the real problem. And now this Dallas, and some wealthy hunter in Dallas paid $350,000 to go to Africa and shoot and kill a black rhino. Why? Probably to put the head on the wall of its den. It's just here on the endangered species. Now, and to make it worse, the Dallas Safari Club insists that they're doing this to help save the species, because we're raising money to pay to the government, and so this government will go to helping protect the herd. This is such backwards, right? There's no logic to it at all. It is just really, really sick. And I mean, I don't know what you can do about it. It's not illegal what they're doing. But there are lots of protests down in Texas, rightfully so, against this Dallas Safari Club. The idea that an American would pay $350,000 to go to Africa and to kill an animal on an endangered species list. I think there's no way you can defend it. And I think real hunters, right? And I used to do a lot of hunting myself, and members of my family still do. Real hunters ought to stand up and say and condemn this, because I think it represents the worst of the hunting mentality, if you will. Hey, we'll be back. Check in with our news of the day with Steve Shepard, editor-in-chief of the Hotline.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Journal.com editor-in-chief Steve Shepard joins us on our newsline again this Monday morning. Hello, Steve. Good morning.
Morning, Bill.
Let's talk about Iran. Start there. Some good news for the president, right? Announced over the weekend?
That's right. The leaders of 6 world powers agreed with Iran on an agreement that would freeze, at least for 6 months, Iran's nuclear program starting next Monday, in exchange for some relief from Western economic sanctions. Here in this country, there's still some resistance in Congress. Lawmakers, mainly Republicans, but also some Democrats, indicate that they may seek to pursue increased sanctions, which would obviously run counter to this agreement. Now, the president has said that he would veto such actions, but that does set up some uncomfortable votes, both in Congress and then a decision for the president. So, it's up to the Obama administration to sell this to some skeptical lawmakers who have traditionally been more hawkish on Middle Eastern issues.
By making this deal, does Iran, in effect, admit that they were moving toward nuclear weapons with their nuclear program? They always denied that in the past.
I think that what you're seeing is the focus on and the focus from Tehran on the fact that this development has been for energy reasons or just for strictly peaceful purposes, and that they're going to play it up as they're not giving away the store and not saying that they've been using it for military reasons.
Right. I was thinking about this morning. This really runs, of course, counter to what Dick Cheney wanted to do, what Benjamin Netanyahu has always recommended, right? Is this some military strike against Iran? Even John McCain, remember the famous bomb Iran, right?
Right.
And the president insisted, no, we don't have to. He never took military action off the table, but that this was a better way to go. So if this holds, it's a win for him and for John Kerry, particularly, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, but like I said, it's not just a matter of negotiating the agreement with the other 5 countries that were at the table, plus Iran. It is also a matter of selling the agreement to Congress. And, you mentioned John McCain. There's a whole wing of Republicans in the Senate, like Lindsey Graham and Kelly Ayotte, in addition to McCain, and then also some Democrats like Bob Menendez, who's chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, that really have to be sold on this, that it's okay not just to leave the current sanctions, not just to not impose new sanctions, but also to sort of take their foot off the gas a little bit in exchange for this agreement, and that's not an easy sell on Capitol Hill.
Now, we have nothing, of course, as exciting going on here in Washington as is going on in New York, in New Jersey and New York, right, with the Chris Christie scandal. Does that spill over into Washington in any way, or are people just sort of keeping their distance from it?
I don't really see that spilling over into D.C., other than, in addition to Democrats who are loving this, some of the Senate Republicans who might have their eye on 2016, like a Rand Paul or Ted Cruz, really can't be complaining either.
Right.
It just seems like right now that this is going to be. It is a New Jersey scandal magnified by the New York media.
Right.
And really, politics is the sort of the favorite sport here, so.
I'm sure they would never. You're right that the Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio would never say it publicly, right? But they must enjoy watching Chris Christie squirm and try to spin his way out of this. Job numbers came out on Friday, Steve. Not so hot, surprisingly. Almost going in reverse to what we've seen lately.
Right, yeah, and a weird report. Some folks who know more about how these reports work are a little skeptical that they won't be revised later. Basically, these jobs reports are sort of, they're surveys, and they carry margins of error, much like a political horse race poll. The margin of error generally on the monthly survey when it's first released is plus or minus 100,000 jobs. So it's difficult to say exactly. 74,000 jobs is not what. Plus 74,000 jobs is not exactly what people had in mind for a growing economy, but we'll see ultimately whether this is revised up or down, and you really have to take the long view when you look at these, the 3-month or 6-month view, rather than just the monthly numbers, which can be a little noisy.
The only silver lining that I've heard to these numbers is that some people feel maybe this will help convince the Congress that they have to do something about unemployment insurance.
Unemployment insurance, and also the Federal Reserve changing leadership later this week will be Ben Bernanke's final public appearance as Fed chair. They have some decisions to make as to the economic stimulus that they are generating right now and whether to continue that. And so continually tepid job market might convince them not to make too many drastic changes just yet.
All right. Hey, Steve, always good to check in with you. Thanks for getting up early for us again this Monday morning.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And don't forget, folks, check out the Hotline, nationaljournal.com. It is a great source of information that I've taken advantage of for many years now. Here we are on the Monday edition of the Bill Press Show. Good to have you with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, so what's the New Jersey media saying about the Chris Christie scandal? We will find out. Talking to Steve Strunsky from the New Jersey Star-Ledger at the top of the next hour. Meanwhile, Peter?
I was just thinking the other day that here we are in 2014, and we don't have a presidential race brewing yet. You know, we're so far into the presidential race at this point. But it's starting to heat up.
Are you announcing this morning? Is that?
I am not running for president of the
okay.
United States. But it did start to heat up a little bit. They asked Martin O'Malley on CNN State of the Union, point blank, are you going to run for president? And he said, it's an honor to be mentioned. And he said, sure, I've said I'm thinking about it, but right now I'm primarily focused on what I need to do for the good people of our state of Maryland, which of course means, yes, of course he's running for president.
But that's the answer that he should give right now.
Of course.
And there is a big factor with Martin O'Malley's decision, which is we all want to know what Hillary Clinton is going to do.
Yeah.
I think Martin O'Malley my guess would be Martin O'Malley will run, and that he will run no matter what Hillary does.
I think so too.
Because he's young enough. The national exposure would do him good. He's a great guy, been a great governor. And what the hell? Why not run?
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good morning, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the Bill Press Show this Monday morning. Can you believe it? Here we go. Hope you had a great weekend, had a chance to recharge your batteries, watched a lot of good football, and are ready to tackle the big news stories of the week starting today here as we come to you live from our nation's capital. Yeah, lots of good football this weekend, and we wind up looking forward to two really great games next weekend. The 49ers versus Seattle and the Broncos versus the Patriots, lining up Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, which should be a real thriller indeed. Something to look forward to. Meanwhile, big news here on the home front. The White House announcing over the weekend that negotiators in Geneva have finalized the deal with Iran whereby Iran will start scaling back its nuclear production and heading toward a nuclear weapon, God forbid. And in return, the United States will start lifting the sanctions against Iran. Meanwhile, up in New Jersey, the latest documents over the lane closures show that more and more people close to Chris Christie were aware of the lane closures. They knew it was a problem. They were fighting hard to keep it out of the media and out of any public discourse. So far, there is still no evidence linking Chris Christie himself to knowledge of the lane closures. If that comes forward, he is politically toast. Also in Virginia, Terry McAuliffe sworn in Saturday as the new governor of Virginia. Former President Bill Clinton and former First Lady Hillary Clinton were there for the ceremonies for that good friend of theirs and of mine. All of that coming up. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and stay with us on this Monday edition of The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making Home Affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
We have a deal with Iran. They're going to scale back their nuclear program. The United States will begin lifting the sanctions against Iran. Big victory for President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry. Good morning, everybody. With that bit of good news, we kick off hour number 2 here of the Bill Press Show this Monday morning, January 13. Hello, 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 and so good to see you. Hope you had a great weekend and are ready to tackle the big stories of the day here. It's what we do on the Bill Press Show, on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on our video stream, TawkrTV, at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. Of course. Good to see you this morning. Good to say hello to our entire team here. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy. Hello, hello.
Hey, Good morning.
Found the way back to the studio this morning. That's great.
I almost got lost.
Hard after 2 days off. Alicia Cruz, there on the, she's the one you talk to when you give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. And if we're looking good on Free Speech TV and the video stream, it's thanks to Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, rounding out the team here this morning. We are going to kick off the hour talking about more about the big scandal up in New Jersey, but that has paled. Chris Christie his problems are nothing compared to the problems facing Mayor Bill de Blasio, the new mayor of New York, who suddenly is in a big scandal of his own. Somebody did a lot of good investigative reporting and found out that Bill de Blasio eats pizza with a knife and fork. He explains
in my ancestral
why.
homeland, it is more typical to eat with a fork and knife. And so I have been in Italy a lot, and I picked up the habit for certain types of pizzas.
Certain types of pizza. So he said, this is the way the Italians do it, and it's what I learned. Yeah.
To his credit, I was looking at this. So this super authentic pizza, right? The kind that they serve in Italy, which is not as popular as it is here, by the way, are usually smaller discs.
And
they're
thinner
crust.
Thinner crust.
And they're not cut into slices. It's just a disc of dough, and then there's really no other way to eat it but with a knife and a fork.
Now, there are...
So he does have a small point there.
But the residents of New York are apparently up in arms. Here's a group of kids saying, no, this is not the way we do it.
Eat it with our hands. New Yorkers. Like New Yorkers. With my hands.
Yeah, with your hands, like New Yorkers. Right?
If a little kid can pick up a New York slice of pizza, I think Bill de Blasio could as well.
I will say, as I said earlier, I will admit that sometimes if the pizza, I don't know, it just depends. But when we have pizza at home, and we're the best pizza place in Washington, D.C., I believe, certainly one of the best, right? Right next door to us here. Seventh Hill Pizza. It's great pizza. And so we get pizza there often at home, and we always have a knife and fork on the table. And sometimes I will use them, particularly if the pizza's hot. I like picking it up, too, and folding up the slice. But sometimes I'll use a knife and fork, so I can understand. I'm okay with that. I'm down with that.
I will say this. If you're getting, because that pizza is sort of like a smaller artisan type pizza, okay, thinner crust. That's the type of pizza I would imagine it would be okay to eat a knife and fork with. The New York style pizza with a slice of pizza that's like the size of a football. Don't eat that with a knife and fork. You can't eat that with a knife and fork.
All I got to say is, if I were Bill de Blasio from now on, I think I would
pick it up.
I would have I have a photo shot, right, in my office at lunch today eating a piece of pizza.
Exactly. By the way, this has sort of sparked some conversation online on Twitter, at BP Show. NC Nomad says, I wouldn't even know how to use a knife and a fork to eat pizza. Joe H.
Oh, that's not that difficult.
Joe H. says,
you want me to show you? I mean, you cut a little piece off. And yeah.
Joe H. says, I just returned from Paris where the pizza is not cut, and it must be eaten with a knife and a fork. It was very good pizza, though.
All right. I think you can still be a man, a real man.
You can be a man and eat pizza with a knife and fork, but you can't be a real American. And you certainly can't be a real New Yorker.
I was just going to say. Yeah, you can't be a real New Yorker. All right, lots going on here this morning. We're going to have reporters coming in from The Hill, from U.S. News and World Report, and from Huffington Post. We start out today by going up to New Jersey. Steve Strunsky is a reporter with the New Jersey Star-Ledger, joining us on our news line this morning. Steve, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Oh, no problem. Good morning.
So I have the feeling, I want you to confirm, yes or no, that it ain't over for Chris Christie yet. Is that fair?
Whether it's over for Chris Christie or not, I don't want to venture to guess.
I don't mean politically. I mean, is this scandal over? Is this scandal behind him?
The investigation, the principal investigation by the Transportation Committee of the New Jersey Assembly is going deeper and deeper, and they'll be subpoenaing more documents this week, as a matter of fact. And the U.S. Attorney's Office has begun to review the matter. The Senate, the U.S. Senate, is looking into it. So, as well as the Inspector General's Office of the Port Authority itself. So there are a lot of investigations that are well underway, or even just getting underway. So you're right, it's far from over.
Why would the U.S. Attorney's Office be looking at this? Isn't this just a state matter?
Well, it's an interstate matter, for one thing, because the bridge connects New York and New Jersey. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey is a bi-state agency, for one. And there have been suggestions by Senator Jay Rockefeller of West Virginia, for one, that maybe the Federal Bridge Act was violated because interstate commerce was impeded by clogging up traffic over the bridge, for one. Others have suggested that state or federal laws might have been violated if, well, they strongly suggest that they were, because it appears that you have the abuse of governmental authority for private or political gain. If, in fact, we eventually do learn the motivation for clogging, well, for closing those lanes was to punish somebody.
Now, you mentioned that there be subpoenas issued today for certain witnesses and other documents. What did we learn, Steve, from the documents which were released on Friday? Anything new?
We did. There had been an earlier release of documents on Wednesday that were highlights, so to speak, of the much larger document dump we got Friday. Of course, on Wednesday we learned of the governor's deputy chief of staff emailing the governor's hire at the Port Authority, telling him time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee, and him responding, "Got it." And then, 3 weeks later, we saw what happened. In Friday's additional document dump, there was nothing quite as damning as that, but we did learn more about who else was involved and how they reacted once the traffic snarls began. For instance, the chairman of the Port Authority, David Sampson, we learned that he and the vice chairman, a New York appointee, Sampson was a New Jersey appointee, Sampson was very angry about the fact that apparently some information had been leaked by Patrick Foy to indicate that there was tension within the agency about the closures. The New York side basically being appalled by them, and the New Jersey side apparently having engineered them.
You've been around. You've covered Chris Christie from the beginning. Is this idea of? I mean, I've read some stories that political payback was sort of the way they operated, right? That Barbara Buono complained that she was not invited to any meetings with the governor after she said one thing critical about the governor. Other mayors and other state legislators have said that. Was that the way his office operated?
Well, I cover the Port Authority, and obviously, Christie shares joint control of the Port Authority with New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo. So I can't say that I've covered Christie per se from the beginning. And in terms of the way that he operated, I can only speak with authority about this particular operation, and in fact, we are yet to see a direct smoking gun, so to speak, linking the governor to these lane closures, and what some people say are a cover-up.
Now you mentioned her name, Bridget Ann Kelly. To me, she's the big mystery here, right? She's the one that Christie fired. She's the one that sent that email saying it's time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee. We haven't heard from her since last week when she was fired. When is she going to surface? And what?
She may surface as a result of the subpoena. She was fired by the governor. He said without even an exit interview.
Yep.
Some people were surprised that the governor lacked the curiosity about just why she apparently lied to him and why she took it upon herself to engage in this kind of activity. It is hardly a surprise, I think, considering the circumstances that she has not spoken out or been heard from in any way. Certainly we and everybody else have tried to get in touch with her.
I'm trying.
But now she may be flushed out, so to speak, by a subpoena that seems imminent from the Transportation Committee Chairman, Assemblyman John Wisniewski, to have her turn over any documents she may possess or even testify at a hearing to be scheduled. David Wildstein, the person on the other end of her email, was subpoenaed to do just that. Last week, he appeared at a Thursday hearing before the Transportation Committee, but took the fifth on every question he was asked, including, did you formerly work for the Port Authority? His lawyer was with him and said that those all might incriminate his client.
Well, I have to tell you, it as you know, Steve, and that's the reason we're talking. It is it's an issue. It's a scandal. It's a series of events that have reverberated far, far, far beyond the George Washington Bridge in New Jersey.
Well, obviously, with the governor's potential run for president in 2016, it's attracted not only national media attention, but the Democratic National Committee and a group affiliated with Hillary Clinton have weighed in and seized upon it.
And I think there are even some Republicans who are probably not disappointed to see Chris Christie have some problems. Those potential primary opponents of his, at any rate. And the New Jersey Star-Ledger has been way out in front on this, thanks to your good work and others, Steve. And we appreciate your taking some time with us this morning. I know it's a very busy day for you. We'll let you get back on the job there. Thanks so much, Steve Strunsky from the New Jersey Star-Ledger.
I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
And we will come back with other news of the day here on this Monday edition of the Bill Press Show, including a look. I don't know about you, but I spent a good deal of time watching the Golden Globes last night. I thought it was a lot of fun. Let's talk about it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today in part by LifeLock Ultimate. All right, 25 minutes after the hour now. Here we are on this Monday morning in the next segment. Alexandra Jaffe from The Hill joins us in the studio. Big night last night, Peter, for the Golden Globes.
Yeah, Golden Globes. That's always a fun event.
You know, it's a funny event because it is so different from the Academy Awards, which are really sort of stiff and formal, right?
Despite they're trying not to be.
Despite trying not to be, and really mean something, whereas the Golden Globes are fun and wild and mean nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, but they have a good time.
They get to drink.
It's a dinner scene, so they're sitting at tables, and the people who are all working on the same movies sit together, which is different. And then alcohol. Everybody from the early red carpet, right, all the way through the show, there were so many references to alcohol, and apparently they were giving out mini bottles of champagne before they even got on the red carpet. And half the people, to me, giving their speeches or on the red carpet seemed already drunk.
Well, yeah, I mean, chug that little bottle of champagne.
They were having a good time, and they were laughing about it.
It's loose and it's fun, and like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, they're a great team.
They're
this
really
is their
good.
second year to do it. My favorite line of the night was their line about what the movie Gravity is all about.
It's the story of how George Clooney would rather float away into space and die than spend one more minute with a woman his own age.
Some of the dresses were, shall we say, very revealing.
Sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was very pleased to see 12 Years a Slave.
Yep, best motion picture in a drama. Which they do the weird thing. They separate drama and comedy and musical.
Right. We watched it. Just happened Friday night. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had never seen it before. Boy, it's a powerful
I haven't
movie.
seen it yet.
Yeah, great movie. And for the best movie considered comedy
or musical.
Or musical.
The way they refer to it.
Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, this has great significance for me, this film. I mean, I'm just so proud to be able to have, Marty be at the helm of it. I mean, there's no one better.
Scorsese,
so
yes.
I'm incredibly honored.
Don't you know him as Marty as well? We all know him as Marty, right?
Marty. Yeah. Marty, who won the Cecil B. DeMille Lifetime Award 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This year, Martin Scorsese won it. This year it was given to Woody Allen, who was not there to accept. And I think it was Tina Fey or Amy Poehler who said, so in other words, this is the award that goes to a little man with big glasses. Both of whom fit that category, yeah. No, it was a fun program. Meryl Streep looked great, and I thought it was wonderful to meet the real Philomena.
Mm-hmm.
She was there as well. When we come back, we'll talk politics of the day with Alexandra Jaffe from The Hill.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On TV and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. It's Monday morning, Monday, January 13. Welcome. Hope you had a good weekend and are ready to get into the whole new week. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital. Brought to you today in part by the International Association of Iron Workers, the good men and women of the Iron Workers Union under President Walter Wise. The sky is the limit for them, you bet. Some of the great buildings and bridges and stuff that they're building around the country today. And you can find out more about their good work at Ironworkers, www.ironworkers.org. It is the House and the Senate coming back today. Don't expect much to get done this year because so many of them are busy campaigning or will be busy campaigning in these midterm elections. Alexandra Jaffe is a campaign reporter for The Hill, joining us in studio this morning. It's thehill.com, and good morning, Alexandra.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
The politics of the day has been dominated recently, of course, the last few days, by what's going on up in New Jersey. I would imagine there are even some Republicans who are enjoying watching Chris Christie deal with this scandal.
Absolutely, particularly his potential presidential opponents. I mean, I'm sure you saw what Senator Rand Paul said last week. Something about, I hate it when I'm in traffic. I know I'm always wondering who did this to me. So an opportunity, an opportunity for him to take a jab. It wasn't outright, but we knew who he was talking about.
Yeah. For sure. Does this, and Christie, of course, just taking over as head of the Republican Governors Association, does this, is this going to be a problem for him?
Absolutely. And, a raft of Republicans came out this weekend and said he handled it well. This showed leadership. Rudy Giuliani was out there. Senator John McCain was out there. Right. But, I mean, unspoken kind of between the lines there is this has significantly hurt him. There's polling coming out this week from a New Jersey pollster that's probably going to show a big hit. It's just a matter of how long lasting is this.
So it speaks, even if he win or it's a lose-lose, it seems to me, for him. I mean, obviously, if it turns out that he knew anything about this, he's toast, right? But even if he didn't know, it does raise questions about his managerial ability.
His competency. And he's always been known for running a very tight ship for his executive leadership abilities. That's one of kind of his selling points for 2016. And the idea that he didn't know what his deputy deputy chief of staff sitting 400 feet away from him was doing is A, laughable, but B, if it's true, it's a problem for him on kind of those terms.
Plus, and we were just talking about this with a reporter from the Star Ledger, there was a work environment that he created which seems to have thrived on and enjoyed political payback.
Right. And that's what Democrats in New Jersey have been saying for years. This is kind of the culture of fear and intimidation, is what one local Democrat told me. And this is clearly getting to him. In his 2-hour press conference, he repeatedly tried to kind of answer that claim that he's created this culture. And he said, this isn't the tone of my administration. But the DNC actually last week put out a kind of funny video juxtaposing those comments with a number of clips of him shouting down, people at town halls, etc., making it clear that, yes, this is the tone that he fosters.
Well, yeah, as we said last week, when you have to say, I am not a bully,
you have to be that outright about it.
You probably are a bully. When you have to say, as Richard Nixon did, I am not a crook, you probably are a crook. Right? So, and it's certainly not over for Christie yet.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing, is there's been a drip for the past 2 months, and there's going to be a drip. There's the investigations continuing. They're likely to reauthorize subpoena power for the committee in New Jersey that's investigating this. So we may get more actors in there to testify. And, Wildstein, the kind of main guy that we've been talking about, pled the fifth, which doesn't bode well. I mean, that says that there's something there.
Which doesn't look good for him. And we've yet to hear from Bridget Ann Kelly.
Right, and they want to bring her in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her testimony is going to be, I'll tell you what, maybe Chris Christie should have talked to her before she left or something.
I can't believe that. Why wouldn't he? Don't you want to know? I mean, if you're the executive and this is happening underneath your nose, don't you want to know why? So.
Yes.
And also just to make sure that everything's covered, because she is going to, at
there's
some
nothing
point.
to be covered, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what you're going to say, right? We're on the same page here, right?
Well, to me, and I thought he did a superb job on Thursday with that news conference, so far as it went. And he did look contrite, and he did look sincere, and he did look almost humble. But to me, the big question remains how this guy who, as you pointed out, bragged about all this time about being a micromanager, and I'm the kind of guy that gets things done, would hear about a bridge closer on the most important artery going from New Jersey into New York City and not do anything about it.
Right.
If he heard about it, that it happened for 1 hour, it seems to me Christie would be demanding a top-to-bottom investigation about who was dumb enough to do this and how could this possibly, raising holy hell about it. Instead, he did nothing for 1 day, for 2 days, for 3 days, for 4 days, and then for 4 months he did nothing. It wasn't until December that, as he admits, he called in his senior staff and said, if anybody had anything to do with this, I want to know, you have 1 hour to tell me this. Well, why did, to me, it's just incomprehensible that he would wait that long. Other political news last week, the big news was Liz Cheney. Did that surprise you, Liz Cheney dropping out?
It did not.
And why did she really drop out? Come on, let's get to the bottom of it here.
The heat,
spend more time
in the kitchen got too hot. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she had to get out. We had been hearing kind of increasing news that a lot of the tactics that she had been trying to fix the issues in her campaign weren't working. I mean, she had faced this authenticity problem from the get-go, and the very public family feud exacerbated that. And try as she might put out these kind of web videos that featured her and her daughter riding horseback in, the plains, it didn't really help, and polling was not looking good for her, and, she did more damage to herself than she did help.
Was she raising money?
No, absolutely not. We expect to see from her disclosures this month a very low sum, which, of course, you can't kind of continue.
Right. So does she stay in Wyoming, or does she come back to Virginia and run for something else? That's
the question. I mean, she got into this. It's pretty widely agreed upon because she saw a political opportunity. Political opportunists, I wouldn't go so far as to call her that, but I mean, when they see another one, they jump to it. So we've got the open house race here. Who knows? I don't know if she could shift that quickly, but
open house race in Virginia.
Frank Wolf's district. He's retired.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really.
That would be.
I mean,
quite
also,
the 180.
Also, Tarek Salahi is running for that, so I mean that'll. No.
That's already a race.
Yeah, I mean, it's done. Salahi is going to run, then forget everybody else ought to just forget about it, right? But that does raise the issue. Alexandra Jaffe here again from The Hill, thehill.com. I write a column for The Hill every Tuesday, so I admit a certain bias. For The Hill, but it's a great newspaper. My column will be there tomorrow. There have been, you always think you've got that lined up about what's going to happen in the House, what's happened in the Senate, and then suddenly people announce their retirement, and it's a whole new ballgame. And there are several retirements last week, Democrats and Republicans. How do they affect the outcome in 2014, or might?
So Democrats need to pick up 17 seats, which is a very tall order, particularly in an off year when typically the...
Very what? I'm sorry.
A tall order. Typically,
tall order,
yeah,
right.
it's near impossible. I mean, 17 seats, particularly when the party in the White House loses seats.
Typically,
yes. And last week there was good news, there was bad news for Democrats. Democrat in North Carolina decided to retire, and that's likely a seat that's going to Republicans. It's not a contest anymore. Democrat in Minnesota is retiring, and that's another one that's likely to solidly go to Republicans.
McIntyre in
North Carolina, Matheson in Minnesota. Right. But there were a couple of Republican retirements over the past kind of couple of weeks that are competitive, and Republican primaries, which we've seen last cycle, could kind of jeopardize Republican holds on them. I mean, particularly one is John Runyon in New Jersey. Now, there are, I believe, already 4 Republicans in that primary, one of whom is Steve Lonegan, whom some might remember from the New Jersey special Senate election earlier last year.
Oh, right.
Right, who was kind of known for dropping bombs and saying some off-color things, and he could really, jeopardize the Republican hold if he makes the nomination.
Carolyn McCarthy from Long Island, suffering from breast cancer or lung cancer, I believe.
Breast cancer, yeah.
Announced her retirement as well. Is that a safe Democratic district?
Yeah, that's likely a safe Democratic one. I mean, Republicans are claiming that they can make it competitive with a good recruit, but it's moved increasingly Democratic in kind of recent years. So Democrats are happy about that one.
So you're saying it's tough order, you believe, for Democrats to win back the House. Republicans have any chance of taking over the Senate?
They do. It's a more competitive landscape from them there, because a lot of the Democratic seats up are in states that Mitt Romney won last cycle. I mean, we're looking at Louisiana, Arkansas, Alaska, and North Carolina as their top targets. And of course, Obamacare is going to be a big issue in those. And if that doesn't get kind of sorted out by then, it would be a problem. But those are tough incumbents. I mean, they've won tough re-election fights before, most of them. So Democrats are still pretty gung-ho about it.
And The Hill is reporting this morning that Hillary Clinton, as a candidate for president in 2008, had a hit list. And you might be surprised to find out who was on her hit list at the time. Alexandra Jaffe is here. She'll tell us all about it when we come back. Your call is always welcome on the political scene. 866-55-PRESS here Monday morning on The Bill Press Show.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dog, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. In the next hour, Robert Schlesinger from U.S. News and World Report will be here for the entire hour as a friend of Bill. Alexandra Jaffe joins us at this time. She's campaign reporter for The Hill, thehill.com, and The Hill reporting this morning. Actually, Amy Parnes, who covers the White House for The Hill, a good friend of mine. We sit alongside of each other often in the briefings. She and Jonathan Allen from Politico have co-authored a new book about Hillary, which comes out
in February.
Just a couple of weeks, right? The book is called HRC, State Secrets and the Rebirth of Hillary Clinton. And the big news, as reported in The Hill this morning, is...
There was a hit list that a few Hillary aides got together and kind of laid out all of the lawmakers that did good for Hillary during the 2008 campaign and the lawmakers that did pretty bad. And it's a look at kind of...
By her.
Right, exactly. And it's a look at... We're not sure how it's going to be used or whether it will be used going forward, but I mean, there are some big names on there and outlines of how, they scorned Hillary. The Clintons were expecting favors from a lot of these folks because they had done good work for them in the past, and it didn't turn out.
Well, yeah, they expected everybody to be there for Hillary, and some people surprised or disappointed her, pissed her off, if you will, by endorsing Barack Obama.
Right.
They include on the list...
Ted Kennedy is one. He's a big one. He gave this very effusive speech about Obama that kind of cast the Clintons as old news and Obama as the heir apparent to kind of Camelot going forward. And the Clintons saw that as a big burn, as a big slight, because they were longtime friends with the Kennedys, had done a lot of work for them, and did they have to go this far? Was kind of the question behind that.
John Kerry was also on the list.
John Kerry was another one who unexpectedly, at least for the Clintons, ended up backing Obama pretty strongly. Claire McCaskill was another one, and that's been this very long...
but she's already come out and endorsed Hillary for 2016.
She made nice.
So she's trying to make up for it.
Right.
It just shows, to me, which should not be surprised. I mean, the Clintons play hardball in politics, right? And if you weren't there for her, they were going to keep a list, and purpose of keeping the list, I'm sure, was to get even with those people who did not who endorsed Obama,
right,
were she to win. These are people who would not. So according to the book here, Amy and John Allen write that years later, Clinton aides would joke about what happened to the folks they felt that had betrayed them. Get this, Peter. Bill Richardson, investigated. John Edwards, disgraced by scandal. Chris Dodd, stepped down. Ted Kennedy, dead.
Whoa!
Right?
So they basically said, "Whoa, you mess with us.
Gleeful about it, yeah.
You mess with us.
Damn.
Here's what happens."
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's a little... Well, but it also... There's a little bit of context to that, which is Bill Clinton has always believed in giving gifts to people that do well by him, do good by him, not necessarily punishing his detractors, which I don't know how fair, like, straightforward that is, but... I mean, potentially we could see some gifts for the people that did well.
Yeah, well, but they're you know, one of the first
John Edwards, disgraced.
One of the first phrases I ever learned in politics, way back in San Francisco, in my first campaign, was, "Don't get mad, get even."
There you go.
And I think that's what the Clintons are practicing here. You mentioned, I have to ask you about this before we let you go. You mentioned Obamacare as a factor in some of these Senate races. Now that we've seen that the website is fixed for the most part, we're not hearing any more stories about people having problems with the website. We're actually hearing stories about some people who now are benefiting from the health care that they have for the first time ever for themselves and their families. Republicans are still planning on using Obamacare as the centerpiece of their campaigns, right? So is this going to be... Is that going to work for Republicans, or will it prove to be something that Democrats can actually campaign on and not have to run away from?
That's the question. I mean, that's what Democrats are saying is they're going to run.
I'm asking you what the answer is. I know the question.
I know, it's early. Democrats are saying that they're going to run on Obamacare in 2014 and win. And I think you're right. It has stabilized. The bad news has stabilized. And we saw that in polling that showed for the first time Obama, you know, his approval rating had stabilized. He was no longer underwater. He's doing all right. But I mean, it remains to be seen whether Democrats can publicize a lot of the advantages of the law. They've had a lot of trouble doing that in the past. So this is really the fight we'll see playing out, who can message better on the advantages or the disadvantages of the law.
And the more people, it seems to me, the more people that sign up, you know, the more stories there are, positive stories out there about people benefiting from this for themselves and for their families, the better it's going to be for Democrats. And Republicans
don't have an alternative either.
Exactly. They'll still be making the same argument, but it may not resonate, and they don't have an alternative.
Right.
So they're putting all their eggs in that one basket, so to speak.
Yep.
Hey, always fun to talk with you, Alexandra. Thanks so much for coming in. Alexandra Jaffe at The Hill, thehill.com. You can follow her and all the other good people at The Hill, and I'll come back and tell you what's on the president's schedule today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms: cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? I know if you've liked the show so far, we got another hour coming up. Very, very exciting. Yeah, unfortunately, Free Speech TV chooses not to carry that third hour, but you've got the option of switching over to our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And in the next hour, we'll be joined by Robert Schlesinger as a friend of Bill here from U.S. News and World Report. And then Amanda Terkel, senior political reporter for Huffington Post, coming up in hour number 3.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You got it, President Obama at the White House today, spending most of his time with senior staffers. He's still working. He's working on that NSA speech he's going to be giving on Friday. This afternoon, he will be meeting with the President of Spain, President Mariano Rajoy Brey of Spain. And our briefing today is scheduled at 12:30. What else is going on, Peter?
By the way, in case you missed it over the weekend, Alex Rodriguez of the New York Yankees trimmed about 50 games off of his suspension. He was originally set to sit out 211 games that got reduced to 162 by an independent arbitrator. But that still means he is out for the entire 2014 season and the playoffs.
Will not play at all.
You will not
this
see him
year.
next season.
Wow.
Season, yeah.
So what does he do for a whole year?
He better work out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Can he play in minor leagues? No?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Whoa. All right.
This
hour number
is
3
the
coming
Bill
up.
Press Show. broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Chris Christie's not the only one with a big scandal. Now we learned that Bill de Blasio has a big scandal in his hands as well. Oh, my. We'll tell you all about it. Good morning, everybody. That's why you tune in here to get all the latest. The Bill Press Show, hour number 3, coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio on Capitol Hill right here in Washington, D.C. Good to see you this Monday morning. Sure hope you had a great weekend. It was an exciting weekend for us. We had solar panels installed on our house here in Washington, D.C., doing our share to help save the planet. And you can see some videos, not videos, photos of the solar panels being hoisted onto the rooftop on Saturday in the rain, by the way, which was kind of awkward. But at any rate, on Twitter at the BP Show, I tweeted them out this morning. Thank you for joining us here on this third hour again of the Bill Press Show to talk about the news of the day. And, of course, we'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what it means to you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. So much going on. We need some help to get through it all. Robert Schlesinger with the managing editor of Opinion for U.S. Oh, my, what a title. U.S. News and World Report. Joining us in studio this hour is a friend of Bill. Hey, Robert, nice to see you.
Good to be here, Bill. Good to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Welcome back. And to our team here this morning, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello,
Happy
guys.
Monday.
Good morning.
Alicia Cruz there, standing by to take your phone calls, and Cyprian Bolding on the video cam, keeping us looking good on that video stream this hour only at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So, but before we get to de Blasio, I've just got to say, have you seen the story this morning? A Southwest airline jet landed at the wrong airport?
You know, if only there was some sort of technology, maybe if we could put satellites around the planet that would allow us to know at any moment exactly where we are. But who, if only we could invent such a thing.
What a crazy idea.
Or maybe if you had something like air traffic controllers that would like when you called a certain airport to say, I'm a Southwest airline jet number ... and I want permission to land, the guy would say, no, not here.
Due here.
No, they were flying from Midway to Branson, Missouri, and in fact, instead they landed at a smaller airport where the runway is half the length, like about 7 or 9 miles away. Again, I just, how could, with all this communication, how could that possibly happen? They had to be in touch with the Branson airport as well as this other little airport.
Yeah, you
can't just land a 737, at a commuter airport.
And you'd think that at some point, okay, I'm coming in for the landing. Well, we don't see you on our radar. Has your plane gone stealth?
Right. Are you sure? Are you sure our runway's long enough for you, dude?
The tapes will come out on this.
I think some pilot is going to lose his job and should.
Probably should. Yeah.
I mean. But again, how could it possibly happen is the real question in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, given the technology, and given it takes affirmative, aggressive incompetence, one would think.
Aggressive incompetence.
Aggressive incompetence. I
like that.
Yes. Now to the de Blasio scandal. All right, this is far, far worse than whatever Chris Christie has on his hands right now, because somebody did some good investigative reporting up in New York, and they found out that Bill de Blasio, the new mayor of New York, eats pizza with a knife and fork. He explained why.
In my ancestral homeland, it is more typical to eat with a fork and knife. And so I've been in Italy a lot, and I picked up the habit for certain types of pizzas.
The New York media are going crazy over this. No, in New York, we eat pizza with our fingers, with our hands. Here are a couple of kids, Robert, explaining.
We eat it with our hands. New Yorkers. Like New Yorkers with my hands.
Yeah, like New Yorkers with our hands.
Speaking of New Yorkers, you ought to be very careful about the way you say fork and knife when you're from New York. You know what I mean?
Fork and knife?
You want to be a little careful.
With a fork and knife.
Yeah.
with my fork and knife. Yeah, but this whole thing, and I don't know. I must admit, I sometimes eat pizza with a knife and fork.
Well, in my ancestral homeland of New York City, we eat with our hands. Yeah. there's no knife and fork. I think if you go into a pizza place, you can't get a knife and fork. I mean, there might be a token sort of little plastic knife and fork that if you actually tried to use the fork, it wouldn't go into anything because they're so cheap.
Yeah.
But I got to go with my fellow New Yorkers on this and say
you got to eat with your hands. You eat pizza with your hands.
Your Honor, come on. This is the city.
Real men eat pizza with
Real
their
New
hands.
Yorkers eat pizza with their hands.
Well, such a serious crisis striking this guy 1 week after he's sworn in. I don't know whether he'll survive. Robert Schlesinger with us this hour. Amanda Terkel from Huffington Post will join us at the half, and we got lots to talk about, lots you're going to want to call about at 866-55-PRESS. But first, Peter, with the big stories of the day.
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. If you weren't up late enough to watch the Golden Globes, here's just a quick recap of some of the big winners last night. Best Motion Picture in a Drama was 12 Years a Slave.
Fabulous movie.
And Best Motion Picture in a Comedy or Musical was American Hustle, which was neither a comedy or a musical. Please discuss. Some of the best performances by an actor and actress: Cate Blanchett for Blue Jasmine, Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club, Amy Adams for American Hustle, and Leonardo DiCaprio for Wolf of Wall Street, which I haven't seen yet. I was going to go see this weekend, but I didn't go see it.
Yeah, I don't know whether you. I watched maybe the first hour of the Golden Globes. Everybody's drunk. I mean, it's really funny. Unlike the Academy Awards, it's really loosey-goosey, and people are having fun, and they're all sitting around at their tables and making a big deal of the fact they just keep pouring the wine, and they have champagne before they come in, and so they're all having a good time.
Yeah. Here's something you don't hear every day: a rain delay for a basketball game. Over the weekend, the Houston Rockets were here in Washington, D.C., playing the Washington Wizards, who have lost now 7 of their 8 last games. But it rained so much here over the weekend that the roof of the Verizon Center, where they play basketball, started to leak onto the basketball court.
No.
They had to stop the game 2 times, one for 35 minutes and another time for 22 minutes. Players had to sit down while the officials came out, mopped up the stuff. They put a tarp over the hole in the ceiling where it was raining from.
Do you think this is God's way of saying to the Wizards, just stop?
Come on, just give it up.
Stop.
Just give it up.
But the Verizon Center, I mean, I don't care whether it's a light rain or a heavy rain, the Verizon Center should not leak.
You would think. But that was not the case over the weekend.
I mean, the Kennedy Center doesn't leak.
The Rockets went on to win that game, by the way.
They did.
But right next to the Kennedy Center is Watergate.
Yes.
And they have very good plumbers.
A lot of leaks there.
And speaking of sports, the playoffs for next week are set. Just a quick run-through of the weekend's games. The Seahawks beat the Saints. The Patriots beat the Colts. 49ers beat the Panthers. And the Broncos easily beat the Chargers. That sets up next weekend's matchups with the Broncos and the Patriots. You will see 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, going at each other at 3 o'clock on Sunday. And then the Seahawks take on the 49ers at 6:30. That's Sunday of next week.
Those are 2 good
2 of those
games.
4 teams are going to go to the Super Bowl. So if you haven't started watching football yet, now you really have to start tuning in.
Right. Yeah, don't make any other plans for next weekend. So, Robert, one of the big items on the agenda of Congress back in session now, and the President talked about it again over the weekend in his weekly address, is doing something about unemployment insurance. You've been writing a lot about that lately. What are the prospects?
It's hard to say. The Senate will have a vote today on their.
But they already did their procedural vote.
They did the procedural vote, and so they've been debating it. At the end of December, the unemployment extension ended. 1.3 million people right off the bat lost their extended benefits. I saw a estimate over the weekend from the National Employment Law Project said that number is already up to 1.7 million. If nothing happens by the end of the year, it'll be close to 4 million. There are 2
because more people's benefits run out, right?
Right.
They have 6 months? Do they on the? They qualify if they're unemployed for over 6 months, right? And if their state runs out, so then they qualify.
Then
for
they get the federal, and
yeah.
The current maximum is, I want to say, 73 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was 99. It's been drawn back from there. there are two plans in the Senate right now. One is for a 3-month extension, basically to say, let's just extend it now so we can then talk about how to extend it in a longer term fashion.
Right.
And another one is for a straight 11-month extension. The Republicans keep sort of looking for reasons to oppose it. I mean, you have the people like Rand Paul who do the traditional, well, people like being on unemployment and so they won't get off it, which of course is crazy. But then you have people. First, they were saying, "Well, you got to pay for it," and so then the Democrats came up with a pay for, and now they're saying, "Well, Harry Reid's mean," and so we want more amendments, and fine. Honestly, Reid should let them have some amendments, but come on, people, let's get this together.
Well, yeah. Who are the Republicans? Serving, or what votes are they picking up by opposing extension of unemployment benefits to long-term unemployed?
Well, this is the question, and there's a reason why a bunch of them voted to move debate forward. And the politics aren't good for them here, but their base doesn't like the idea of spending money, and they're not,
especially spending money on the poor.
And they're not real wild about spending money on the poor either. So
right. Now when the job numbers came out Friday, which were surprisingly abysmally low, 74,000 jobs only created in November.
When they were hoping for 200,000.
They were hoping for some 200,000. Does that add some fuel to the fire for extending unemployment benefits?
One would think. One would hope. I guess we'll see today when they actually have to do another vote and have to get to 60 votes again to move forward on this. And we'll see. Of course, even if it gets out of the Senate, the House is a whole nother issue.
Right, and even looking more unlikely in the House, as we've discussed here. The other related issue is raising the minimum wage, which the president has talked about, set as a priority for this year. I haven't seen any movement toward a vote on that yet. Is that still how far away is that? What do you hear?
I would imagine we'll get one at some point this year, because it's part of the array of issues that Democrats want to run on. I mean, Democrats want to run on these kind of economic fairness issues. So I'm sure we'll get more than one in the Senate. Probably, I'd be surprised if we got one in the House. But that, these votes are a good barometer of how these issues are playing. Do you see swing state Republican senators? Do they try to find a way to at least cast some sort of vote or say nice things about these issues? Because again, polling is on the Democrat side here.
Right, which is something that President George W. Bush recognized. And the current status of the minimum wage is at $7.25, which is legislation that he signed and Republicans voted for when he was in the White House. It's kind of hard to make the argument we're not going to do it when Obama's in the White House, but some of them are still trying.
Although that's the argument just that they made.
Right.
Regardless of the issue, we're not going to do it while Obama's in the White House.
Yeah, on immigration reform and other issues. The president is, again, spending, except for he's meeting with the president of Spain today, but otherwise, like last week, he is spending all day with his senior aides. They're working on this speech on NSA that he's scheduled to give on Friday. And they're very tight-lipped about it, right? Some reforms, but
maybe Snowden will leak it. WikiLeaks will get an early copy.
They might indeed. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But I don't know what you find. I don't expect the president to do any major revision of NSA's phone collection data activities. Do you?
No, I don't think that. I mean, he'll. I just can't see him doing a big course change here. I mean, he's been reasonably consistent on this stuff for 5 years now, and he'll, I'm sure, give a stirring defense. I can't imagine he's going to say, "Hey, I was wrong."
Right. And I also can't imagine that he would say, the New York Times is right, we should offer clemency to Edward Snowden, and salute him as a whistleblower and let him come back here and get a job.
I would say the odds of that are pretty up there with him then going on to say, yes, I was personally responsible for Benghazi. I'm going to repeal Obamacare and join the Republican Party.
At the same time, Chris Christie is going to say, yes, I ordered the closure of the lanes on the George Washington Bridge, right?
That'll be right out of A Few Good Men. He'll say, yes, I ordered the lanes closed.
Yeah.
The full Jack Nicholson. I ordered the code red. You want me on that bridge.
We've got it. Robert Schlesinger here with the news of the day on Chris Christie or NSA or unemployment insurance, whatever's happening. We're talking about it here at 866-55-PRESS. Join the conversation. We always have a seat ready at the table for you. You might even want to talk about whether or not you would dare eat pizza with a knife and fork. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hour, Robert Schlesinger here with us in studio. We're covering and talking news of the day. Robert, managing editor of opinion for U.S. News and World Report. By the way, before we and talking unemployment among other things, before we get back to our calls and news of the day, speaking of scandals, so we got Chris Christie with Bridgegate, Bill de Blasio with Pizzagate, and François Hollande of France with an affair. He's not married, and he was with Ségolène Royal for years. They have 4 kids together. Then he split up, and now he's with this friend of his who's known as the First Lady of France. But a Paris newspaper got a picture of him leaving the apartment of a young actress, forget her name now, and he goes to visit her apparently on his motorcycle, with the security following him on their motorcycle, and he's coming out of her house with his helmet on and the visor down.
It's like the most French thing ever.
But you're supposed to wear a helmet when you're on your motorcycle, so I think this is good. Right, safe sex.
A motorcycle helmet when he's riding his motorcycle to go have sex.
But what I love about this, the French attitude toward it is, so what?
Yeah.
In this country, it would be the end of a career.
Was it an American reporter who wrote the story? I was like, okay, why are the French?
Why is this even?
Why do they care?
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah, and the French and the news is I saw that François Hollande, whose popularity is way down because the French economy is in such bad shape. That news of this affair, the poll numbers he's actually gone up. In the polls.
One might say that it's like Viagra for his poll numbers.
And they're just saying, number one, he's a man, right? He's a human being, and he has the right of privacy like everybody else. So this is no big deal. And why are they even writing about this? It's just amazing the difference.
Wow.
Between. Can you imagine if Barack Obama
riding his motorcycle?
I like the image of Obama pulling out of the White House motorcycle with the full motorcade behind him.
With the Secret Service behind him, and they just happened to be going over to Georgetown for a little fling. No.
This is the Bill Press Show. Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, now 33 minutes after the hour. It's Monday morning, January 13. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital. Brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union. The Sheet Metal Workers Union, and you add Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers, and you get the SMART Union, giving a fair members there, men and women of the SMART Union under President Joseph Nigro, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. You bet. Find out more about their good work by going to their website, smart-union.org. On the news of the day, Robert Schlesinger here from U.S. News and World Report. Robert, always good to have you here again.
Always a pleasure to be here.
And we are joined now by senior political reporter for Huffington Post, Amanda Terkel. Amanda, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You have been busy this first week of the new year in New Jersey with Bridgegate. Huh? How about it? So would this be a big deal if it weren't New Jersey, New York media market?
Well, no. Honestly, I think that in a lot of places we would never have found out about this, but it happened to take place in a city, in a state that still has a really robust sort of local media. And that's great for us. And it shows the importance of local media and why it's so bad that all these papers around the country, you know, if this had happened in Oklahoma or Idaho or in any other state, we might never have heard about it. But Chris Christie happens to live in the New York, New Jersey media market, which is really aggressive.
It's the blessing, Robert, and the curse at the same time for him, right? The blessing because he's such a big presence in American media because of that.
Because he is the neighbor of a media center, and the whole thing is stupid. I think
closer to that microphone. If you can,
A, the whole thing is stupid. B, it's especially stupid if you're going to do this sort of thing to do it on the George Washington Bridge. I mean, the bridge going into New York City. So it's not simply proximity to New York. It's
the major artery.
The artery into New York.
And as I've read, I don't know whether it's true or not, the world's busiest bridge, which I can certainly believe.
Yeah.
Right? Where else? Okay. So in that market, everything you do is going to be in full glare
It's
of publicity.
Crazy that they thought they could shut down these 2 out of 3 lanes to this major bridge, causing traffic jams in this small town on the first day of school, and that no one would notice. I mean, the Bergen Record, which is the paper in New Jersey that first started covering this, it was just a traffic reporter who started covering it. He ran a column called The Road Warrior, and he heard about it because he started getting people who were stuck in traffic, and they were really mad about it, and they wanted someone to write about it. The first complaint, he thought, oh, whatever, you're always stuck in traffic. But then he got more and more complaints, and he decided to look into it. So people love complaining when they're stuck in traffic. So obviously people are going to try to make their voices heard on this.
Right. So Chris Christie came out last week with this, the day after, well, let's back up, right? From September, traffic closures, up through December, he not only denied any involvement, denied any knowledge, ridiculed people who raised this issue, accused the media of sensationalizing it. But one last Wednesday, when the Bergen Record and others reported this one fatal email from Deputy Chief of Staff Bridget Ann Kelly to David Weinstein of the Port Authority saying, time for some traffic problems or something like that in Fort Lee. Then the next day, Chris Christie was forced to come out very contrite, apologize, say yes, it did. He acknowledged it did come from his office, but he still insisted.
I had no knowledge or involvement in this issue, in its planning or its execution, and I am stunned.
No knowledge of it whatsoever. Do you believe him?
Well, I will say right now, there is no evidence that he was involved, but I find it hard to believe that the deputy chief of staff was the person who was the highest person involved in this. I mean, you do these sorts of things because you want the approval of your boss. And if you're doing it and you think it's a good job, you're going to brag about it to people. And she's the deputy chief of staff. The chief of staff didn't know about this. Chris Christie didn't know about this. I mean, I think a lot of people, based on Chris Christie's reputation, someone who's really close to his staff, who's really involved, find this hard to believe that he wasn't involved or that he didn't know about it earlier. And also, during his press conference, there were some inconsistencies. He said that he hadn't been getting a lot of sleep for days because of this, but yet he had also said, I just learned about this yesterday
morning.
So it's a little confusing.
Yeah, but it's a pretty damning defense, right? I had no idea what my team was doing. I had no idea that they were like stupid and obnoxious and petty political thugs at the highest levels below me. I mean, that's not exactly a great platform in terms of I'm a tough, skilled chief executive.
So it's sort of if he that either way,
right? It's
bad for him, right? If he knew, it's really bad. If he didn't know, it's still pretty bad because he should have known.
When your defense is, I don't know what's going on here.
Right.
That's not good.
And to me, the most unbelievable of all is the fact that this guy, who was such a micromanager, and by the way, he showed that in Hurricane Sandy. I mean, he was on the scene, right? He was in-your-face kind of style of governing, that he would hear about, what? Somebody closed 2 lanes on that bridge? And for 1 hour, it seemed the Chris Christie that I thought I knew would have been raising holy hell about it, let alone for 1 day, for 2 days, for 3 days, and 4 days, and do nothing. It's so unlike him.
Right. I mean, this
That's not
Chris Christie's not, and he's not an idiot. I mean, this story, I have been covering this story since early December, so I've known about it, and it's not happening by people who work for me. So I think that, everyone who's been reading these stories, this whole excuse of they were trying to do a traffic study, that really hasn't held water for anyone. So to think that Chris Christie believed this, that he asked his staff what's going on, they said it's a traffic story. He said, okay, continue going about your business. That just does not seem like Chris Christie. You have to think that he was asking more questions and knew something about what was going on. I can't believe that he was so not curious about it that he just accepted the traffic study excuse.
It just doesn't add up to somebody, particularly him, but somebody in that position.
The case in favor of Christie's ignorance is though that if he was culpable, you have to think he wouldn't have been cracking jokes about it in the manner he was.
Right.
And you have to think, I mean, just in terms of cutting aids, you're gone. Now they're free agents, and what's to say that this woman isn't gonna flip over and turn evidence, as it were?
Well, that to me,
if there's evidence,
that to me, I think is the big other shoe that could drop. We haven't heard from Bridget Ann Kelly since she was fired just 4 days ago, but she's going to be subpoenaed for sure to testify, and Chris Christie better hope that she upholds his side of the story. But the other question is, and you may want to comment on this, whether you think Chris Christie has put this behind him or whether he will survive politically. 866-55-PRESS. As some people are saying, that this is would not be unexpected of a Christie operation, because this was the kind of environment that he created, and a work environment that he created and fostered and almost encouraged people to get even with his political enemies. Did you find any evidence of that in your reporting?
Well, I think the best piece on this so far has been the New York Times. I think it was a couple weeks ago. They did something about how there has been this culture of retaliation and bullying in the Christie administration. And so this, while this may be worse than other incidents because it put many people's lives in jeopardy, this is not the first sort of petty retaliation politics that has shown up in his administration. There have been little things like someone didn't agree with him, so they were told don't show up to the event. A Rutgers professor voted against something on a commission that Christie wanted, so he cut funding for the program. So there have been little things like that, and that you have to ask what sort of culture is Chris Christie creating. I mean, the Obama administration administration may have a lot of faults in terms of management and how he's managing, but you don't hear about this culture of bullying.
So it could be that Bridget and Kelly may not have asked Christie's permission, but just figured that this is something her boss would love.
Right. I mean, and this again gets to what kind of boss he is. That he said in his lengthy press conference, this isn't, I'm not a bully, and this isn't the kind of culture that I create. Well, apparently it is. I mean, does anyone think that the bridge was the gateway? I mean, this is the first time that they're like, ooh, I know, let's try a little retaliation.
Yeah.
And you look at the emails. This does not come across. This comes across as time to cause traffic. Gotcha. Pretty SOP, pretty standard operating procedure.
They're talking about this all over the country. They're even talking about this in Chicago. Richard, good morning.
Hi, good morning. This is why I'm a registered independent, because I think when you look at this, keep the heat on this guy, because the Obama administration does the same thing. Eric Holder's selling guns to drug warlords, and he's still in office. We need to keep the heat on this guy, because a news cycle comes by, and then everybody forgets about it. And we still have all these thugs and all these payback artists, you know, from the White House all the way down to his pals that are governors. We need to keep the heat on these people and get them out when they do stuff like this, when they think that they can do this. I don't care if they're president. I don't care if they're governors.
All right, Richard. Good to hear from you. I think there's a big difference between Fast and Furious and what happened on Bridgegate. But I do believe we have to keep the heat on our elected officials, Republicans and Democrats. And Chris Christie is certainly feeling the heat right now. So do you think he survives politically? 866-55-PRESS. Hey, he's the new head of the Republican Governors Association. Will he lose that job? We'll be right back with Robert Schlesinger and Amanda Terkel.
This is the Bill Press Show. seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, we call it Bridgegate. Of course, everything we like to put gate on the title ever since Watergate. Amanda Terkel's here, senior political reporter for Huffington Post. Robert Schlesinger is a friend of Bill this hour from U.S. News and World Report. Guys, nice to see you both again. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We were talking, we'll get back to your calls about Chris Christie, 866-55-PRESS. Are we being too tough on him? Do you think he has, in fact, weathered the storm and has put this behind him? Actually, on that point, we got to say there's an investigation by the State Assembly. There's an investigation by the Port Authority. There's a preliminary looking into whether or not they're going to launch a criminal investigation from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This could drag on for weeks and months, couldn't it? Right?
Yes, I mean, it's not going away. And then the New Jersey Assembly is meeting on Thursday with a special session to renew their subpoena power, which runs out on Tuesday. And I expect that they will renew it. So this will keep going.
Yeah, why would they not?
Right.
If there's a potential upside, it's that in 2 years, but if nothing comes, if there is no smoking gun email that links him to Christie, he will presumably be able to come out and say there were 20 different investigations, all by my political opponents, and none of them found anything, so I'm clean on this.
And even if Christie was not involved, they should investigate why and how this happened. I mean, this is really bad. This should not happen again.
Right. I mean, people should not be able to say, let's fake a traffic study and shut down that bridge with all the resultant problems with the school kids and the EMS and the poor woman who died in not being able to get to help in time. Let's bounce out to the West Coast here before we move. Joe is calling from Long Beach, California. Hey, Joe, good morning.
Hey, just a quick point. Chris Christie had to have known, at that time I read that they were preparing responses to handle the backlash during the lane closures.
Well, that was, again, those emails said that, but they were among people who worked on the Port Authority, not necessarily Christie himself, right, Joe?
Well, that's when they were preparing the spin. I mean, they would have had to warn him if he would have gone out in public and had to answer a question regarding what was happening.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
So, I mean, he had to have known.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that was curious to me is in the emails, into these last emails that came out Friday, is that his press communications director knew what was going on.
Yes, he knew there was a problem.
So that lends some weight to Joe's theory, don't you think? Thanks, Joe, for your call.
Well, he knew there was a problem, and maybe Christie knew there was a problem, but I think Christie and perhaps the press secretary, I don't know how much he knew, just thought it was all garbage from the press, that they were just making this up. And he knew they had to respond, and he knew they had to come up with an answer, but perhaps they thought the press was just making up this political angle, and they had to make it clear to the press that they weren't. So you can, just because they were figuring out a response doesn't necessarily mean that they knew what was happening.
Now, there's a concept in politics called plausible deniability.
Yes.
And it's the boss says, we got to do everything we can to get Democrats to endorse me for re-election.
Right.
And the subordinates interpret this in a way that is both maximally tough, because that's the ethos of the office, but also if one buys what Christie has said, also they do it in a way to insulate him so that there's nothing can come back to him. They do the dirty work so he can stay above it and clean and presumably come across as bipartisan successful governor guy.
Right. And that may be at work here. It's interesting. I mentioned earlier that I haven't found a Republican so far that really agrees with Chris Christie. But it's interesting to see the extent to which some conservatives or Republicans have gone to defend Christie. He's got the reputation for being a bully. But Britt Hume on Fox News Sunday yesterday said it's not that he's a bully. It's because we have become such wimps ourselves and are so feminized. Here's Britt Hume.
Well, I would have to say that in this sort of feminized atmosphere in which we exist today, guys who are masculine and muscular like that in their private conduct and kind of old-fashioned tough guys run some risks.
Feminized?
Feminized atmosphere. By which you mean? By which I mean that men today have learned the lesson the hard way, that if you act like a kind of an old-fashioned guy's guy, you're in constant danger of slipping out and saying something that's going to get you in trouble and make you look like a sexist or make you look like you seem thuggish or whatever. That's the atmosphere in which he operated. This guy is very much an old-fashioned, masculine, muscular guy, and there are political risks associated with that.
So there you go, Amanda.
I mean, it's unbelievable. That Brit Hume apparently wants to return to the days of political bosses, and you can get beat up if you don't vote the right way or do the right thing for Boss Tweed or whoever. But I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, I would like to know how Brit Hume would feel if he or his loved ones were the ones calling the emergency services and they couldn't get through because of traffic. I mean, it's like, oh, it's okay because Chris Christie is being a masculine chief executive,
macho,
so that's
muscular
fine.
guy,
That's
Robert.
I think we now know who Mad Men's #1 fan is.
Brit Hume?
Brit Hume, since he obviously wants to go back to those days where men were men and secretaries were there to be hit on.
Oh, we haven't heard the end of the story. Robert Schlesinger, thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Amanda, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to both, and I'll be back with today's quick parting shot on Chris Christie.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, just a quick final word on Chris Christie. As we've discussed, his problems are far from over with these ongoing investigations. And the big question is what's going to happen when former Deputy Chief of Staff Bridget Ann Kelly finally speaks up. Will she admit that Christie was right in throwing her under the bus, or will she say he knew all about it? If so, Christie is toast. So for now, Christie's political future is a big question mark. His credibility has already been badly damaged, and maybe more so depending on what comes out in those investigations and how long they drag on. You know what they say? In New Jersey, Chris Christie certainly knows as well. It ain't over until the fat lady sings. And the fat lady is not singing yet. Have a great Monday, folks, and we'll see you right back here again tomorrow morning. You bet.
This is the
Have a good
Bill
one.
Press Show.